lost his eyesight to cancer when he was just a baby. A fire burned deep in him as a young boy, and that fire was music. Using a style that fit him, he taught himself to play guitar and sing. He worked his way up and became one of the best at it. His soulful voice and powerful guitar left us great recordings and live show memories that we won't ever forget. So now, let's take a look back on Jeff Healey. Norman Jeffrey Healey was born in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, March 25, 1966. He was adopted as an infant by his father, who was a firefighter. When he was almost a year old, Jeff lost his sight due to retinoblastoma, a rare form of cancer of the eyes, and his eyes had to be surgically removed, and he was given ocular prostheses. His father bought him his first guitar at 3 years old, and he started to develop that unique style playing the guitar flat on his lap. When he was 9, his musical talents were showcased in an interview on the TV Ontario children's program called Cucumber. Jeff began hosting a jazz segment for the CBC in 1980, after attending an open house for the broadcasters, where widely respected Canadian jazz musician vibraphonist Peter Appleyard convinced the people at the radio program Fresh Air to put the 14-year-old Healey on the air after discussing jazz with him. By the time he was 15, Jeff formed the band Blue Direction. It was a four-piece that primarily played bar band cover tunes and had Jeremy Littler on bass, drummer Graydon Chapman, and schoolmate Rob Quayle on second guitar. Later on, the band played clubs in and around the Toronto area. Here's a very cool set list from the Blue Direction around 1984. You can find more song lists and a lot more awesome nostalgic items on Jeff's website, which is jeffhealey.com. I'll put a link in the description box below, so make sure you stop by and check it all out later. In 1985, Jeff had been getting out and making the rounds, showing up at different clubs around Toronto. As one story goes, he went to a bar where Albert Collins was playing, and a friend of Jeff's got him to meet Albert. Some stories say it was Stevie Ray Vaughan, but either way, whatever the truth is, Jeff was getting out and making a name for himself, as it was around this time that the clubs started calling him, and he decided to put the Jeff Healey Band together. Besides himself, he got bassist Joe Rockman and drummer Tom Stephen. All members recognized the band's potential and dropped all other commitments. The Jeff Healey Band toured extensively in Canada for about 2 years. This trio released one single on its own Forte record label, which led to a contract with Arista Records. The Jeff Healey Band released their debut album, See the Light, in 1988, and they immediately developed a following in the blues rock circles. Featuring the hit single Angel Eyes, the record went platinum in the United States. Although Jeff was to release many albums throughout his career, See the Light was his most popular. Jeff had this to say about his career and the album. The 3 years following the release of See the Light were a whirlwind. Almost non-stop touring, talk shows, press, and radio interviews, with a 3-month break only to write and record a new album. I was meeting and touring with ZZ Top, Little Feat, Ringo Starr, Bob Dylan, Bonnie Raitt, and many others. He had a real good run going, with appearances on David Letterman and Johnny Carson. The Jeff Healey Band received a Grammy nomination for Best Rock Instrumental Performance for the song Hideaway, which was written years back by Freddie King and Sonny Thompson, and recorded in 1961 by Freddie King and his orchestra. The Jeff Healey Band did a kick-ass version of this song, but they lost out to Carlos Santana and the song Blues for Salvador. Also included in the nominations were Jimmy Page, Joe Satriani, and Frank Zappa. Jeff, very deservingly, was in good company. Right after the Grammy Award nomination, the movie Roadhouse was released to the public, where Jeff and the band jammed out for the Bucket of Blood dive bar somewhere up by Kansas City called the Double Deuce. They even had a few speaking parts. They ended up with 4 songs on the soundtrack album: Roadhouse Blues, I'm Tore Down, When the Night Comes Falling from the Sky, and Hoochie Coochie Man. These songs were actually recorded back around the same time they were recording their debut album, See the Light. The movie itself didn't fare all that well, although it has become kind of a cult classic nowadays. I think it did help Jeff and the band get even more notoriety. For myself, I thought the movie was okay. Not anything I'd spend the money to buy, but I did buy the soundtrack CD. I really enjoyed the music in the movie. In 1990, Jeff Healey won the Juno Award for Canadian Entertainer of the Year. The next 2 albums, Hell to Pay and Feel This, gave Healey 10 charting singles in Canada between 1990 and 1994, including a cover of the Beatles' While My Guitar Gently Weeps, which featured George Harrison and Jeff Lynne on backing vocals and acoustic guitar. The Jeff Healey Band would go on to release 2 more studio albums, Cover to Cover in 1995 and Get Me Some in 2000, and 1 live album titled Live at Montreux 1999, which was released in 2005. In late 2000, the band split up and Jeff took off doing some solo work and formed the band Jeff Healey and the Jazz Wizards and began to change his direction a little. He taught himself to play the trumpet and began to lean toward the kind of traditional 1920s and 30s jazz that had always fascinated him. He released a couple of classic jazz albums, 2002's Among Friends and 2004's Adventures in Jazzland, on his own Heliophonic label. And a third traditional jazz outing is Tight Like That, which appears on Stony Plain in 2006. And while he continued to do shows in his earlier blues rock style, he increasingly gigged with his jazz combo, the Jazz Wizards. In 2008, a month before the release of his last studio-recorded blues album, Mess of Blues, Jeff died from cancer. Songs from the Road, a collection of live blues rock performances from 2006 and 2007, was released by the Rough imprint in 2009, nearly 18 months after Healey's death. His final studio jazz album, Last Call, was issued by Stony Plain in April of 2010. In 1992, Jeff Healey married his first wife, Krista Miller. The couple had a daughter named Rachel before parting ways in 1998. He got married a second time in 2003 to Christy Hall. The two have a son named Derek. Retinoblastoma is often an inherited disease, and Healey's son was born with the affliction. The good news is that due to cancer research, Derek underwent surgery at the age of 4 months and beat the odds, not only having sight, but doesn't even need glasses. This was the last information I could find on him, and this was from 2015. There is a good Facebook page on Jeff that still seems to have some activity going on, and I'll put a link in the description below this video. Go check it out. You know, Jeff Healey was very talented. He had a great voice, he could write, he could arrange songs, he played trumpet and clarinet, and he was one hell of a guitar player. He just had the feel. Can he rank up there with some of the greatest? I think so. I know he could take the stage and go toe-to-toe with them. Check out the video of him and Stevie Ray jamming out on Look at Little Sister. I'll put a link in the description below. It's worth watching a few times. Then you tell me what you think. Jeff was the whole package. He was another Canadian-born musician who deserves some more praise. And hey, if you haven't seen my video on Jerry Doucette, I'll put a link up here and in the description, as he is another Canadian who deserves some love from y'all. I gotta run, but before I go, I want to thank each and every one of you who messaged and emailed me after Hurricane Ian. We're doing fine now. I appreciate your kind words, thoughts, and prayers. We live to rock on another day here. Just took a little time to get things back up and running. Hope you enjoyed the video on Jeff Healey. If so, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to ring that notification bell. I'd appreciate it. Thanks for watching.